Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your reading for the month of July and welcome to my channel. So Sagittarius, I usually do readings for Virgo, and once in a while I do extend and do readings for other signs. So today I decided to give you a reading, and I'm super excited to be here and connect with your energies and provide you with all that information that you can use and incorporate it your style and in the way you can use it and need it to help you achieve those things that you're trying to achieve. So it's a general reading, but the style in which I do these readings, I feel like it can help anybody. I've been guided to learn how to connect numerology with astrology and tarot. So this has been a development over time where I get downloads of how to work in this way with the oracles. So once in a while I have to kind of do a little bit of research about some of these terms that are being used in astrology and how do they fit with the information that I get through the vibrations and frequencies that I receive when I'm doing these readings. So I want to make that clear because I don't consider myself a fortune teller. So if what you're looking for is that kind of reading where we're going to dwell on how the person that you're thinking about is thinking of you and how they're miserable about you, that's not my style. In my readings, we're going to get deep down into the nitty-gritty and understand cosmic energy and how we're affected by those energies. So I like to go deeper within the understanding of our energies so that we can then apply that information into those situations, like you waiting for your significant other, in a way that is going to empower you, not in a way that you're waiting around to see if the person that you're thinking about eventually it's going to come back to you. And that's just my style. You're the creator of your own reality. Remember that. So let's begin, Sag. Let's begin. Let's take some deep breath and relax and enjoy the ride. So in this particular moment, the celestial body that is ruling your thoughts is Uranus. And I believe that we're going to have a lot of Uranian energy going on for a while. Because astrologically, right now, we are in the Aquarian era. And this is the life force that rules that sign, the 11th house. And if you notice, it comes with a master number. Now, when you go to astrology and you look for the definition of the 11th house, the description is going to be very focused. You know, the explanation of the house is going to be very focused on the physical world. You know, it talks about how we're going to work in groups, community service, what we're choosing to do to make it better for humanity. It also includes business, big business, investments. So, you know, when you start understanding, you know, the area of what an astrological house represents, I noticed that there is a tendency to lean towards the physical world, how we think physically, and not to describe the vibration, what all of that represents in vibration. So when I do my readings, I like to remind you, hey, yes, you live in a physical reality, in a physical world, but everything in this reality has an energy frequency. And when we start operating from that perspective, we have a better understanding of how to deal with our energies in relationships to the experiences that we're having and the opportunities that we're trying to create. You understand that, Sag? So, when we look at Uranus, and I'm going to give you some descriptions, hopefully in a way that you can relate. It does not mean that this energy is, exactly like that in a sense that is defined, but what I'm saying to you, there's more to this energy. But I'm going to give you a hint of what to me represents and in the way it's being described to me by my guides, so that you can understand and learn to sort of differentiate between one cosmic energy and the other. Remember that all energies come from source. Everything that exists comes from source. But in the way everything is expressed, it has its own unique signature, just like you do and I do. Okay? So we are all human beings, but yet we're all very different. We all have vehicles here, physical vehicles, to express our ideas, but we're yet very different. The same thing happens with these cosmic forces. They all come from source, but they all express themselves in a different way. Understand my point? Okay. So when we see the energy of Uranus, we're talking about expansion. And it's an expansion that is going to be represented by the collective. Okay? So when we have Uranus in our thoughts, you're definitely going to be affected in the way you think. It's like stretching our consciousness and becoming aware of more. Now you have here a very unique combination because your heart center is being affected by the fifth house, the house of passion and joy. And in opposition, the energy that is affecting you is Leo. Oh wow, Sag. You have Leo, the sign that is connected to the fifth house. And then you have the fifth house in your reading. And this is all fire energy, just like your sign. So Uranus represents innovations, change, but at a level that is very expansive. Okay? And this is why we have this understanding, a lot of us have this understanding that right now we're not only going through an evolution, but it's one of those evolutions where it will require us to make a jump and break away from the way we used to be into a whole new way. And that's why a lot of what's going on right now, when you observe our reality, is falling apart, because any of those energies that we have constructed and used for a long time, that it doesn't represent a true alignment of the new era, is going to fall apart. And that makes us feel very uncomfortable. So when you're working with Uranian energy, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. So one of the ways in which you're being supported so well is by your passions. Because when we have Leo and the fifth house together, it's all about your passion, Sagittarius. So I don't know how accustomed you are to pay attention to what really matters to you. If you have, good for you, buddy. I'm happy for you. But if you haven't, this is the moment. This is a moment of truth. You got to remember that all signs are being supported by the cosmos in a very unique way to do this job. But in your case, it's through the heart. When I did the Libra reading, it was through the crown. And specifically through the genealogical tree of Libra's sign or family on the mother side. For you, it's all about the heart, my friend. So this is one of those cycles in which you're really going to be pulled to pay attention to how you feel. You're being asked to make changes, which you always are, but to pay attention to your heart. And here's where I ask this question. Do you really know what makes you feel happy? Do you know what are those things that even though you call them insignificant, they matter to you? Because this is one of those moments where you need to work with your energies and those things to be able to go through the process that you have to go through in order to achieve the level of change that is required by Uranus. You understand that? And right now, the sun, which is the ruler of Leo, is in Leo. And we're getting ready to have a new moon, which represents rebirth inside ourselves, in our emotions, in Leo. This month is going to be in Cancer. The next time around, in the next cycle, is going to be in Leo. A lot of Leo energy, a lot of fire. There's a lot of fire in your reading, lots of fire. What does that mean? There's going to be a lot of energy available to you, but through your heart center. And if you have a mind filled with belief systems that go against what your heart tells you, you're going to feel it. That's why Uranus is here ruling your head, helping you get rid of all that shit that you tell yourself that go against your inspirations. I'm not kidding you. This is big for you, Sag. You're being very supported to follow your dreams. And some of you may say, but it doesn't make money. You know, there are people that are musicians, and for years they hide that skill and they go into the world and become business majors or, you know, doctors, lawyers, whatever. And yes, they succeed doing that, but they're not doing what they really want to do. The universe and the oracles are saying, it's time for you to shine and show your skills. The only oppositions you're going to find in this particular cycle is you, because that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to pay attention to how you feel in regards to those ideas that you need to explore at this moment about your passions. The universe is super incredibly smart. We cannot outsmart the universe. And we have the universe inside us. So we have a seed inside of us that is an expression of the universe. And this is why we're supposed to work inwardly to connect with that part of us, because that part of us knows better about what is good to us, and it knows more than our mind. It's just amazing what I see here. A lot of energy. And here's the thing. Going back to this description of Uranus energy. So Uranus represents expansion, like Jupiter and the sun. So these are life forces that helps us expand. But in the way they do it is different, although they come from source energy, because they're expressed differently. So the sun in astrology and in other circles of spirituality is believed to be the lover or the husband of the moon, because the moon receives light from the sun all the time. And Jupiter, which is the other celestial force that represents expansion, does it, but it's a more happy energy, like the sun. because the sun rules a house that could be very mental, but it also very happy, because it has a lot to do with our joy, our happiness, our inspiration. But then what do you do with that happiness, right? So the sun is an energy that gives you clarity, the feeling of clarity. Jupiter, it gives you wisdom, and it does it in a happy way. But Uranus is kind of waiting when you try all different ways, and you're going to be able to relate to this. So right now, Sagittarius, Chiron is in Aries, and Chiron is the wounded healer. So it's basically the energy in astrology that represents our deepest wound, our pain, our suffering, our traumas. Okay? So when you see Chiron in Aries, you rest assured that this is one of those moments where we really need to pay attention to what that pain it represents. The objective is that we need to become lighter if we want to change our frequencies, and especially if we want to get up the speed with the changes that are taking place in this new era of Aquarius. If we want to be able to have access to a lot of this information that comes from the Aquarian era. Very different information, but it does represents evolution. We're going to do things better, more harmonious. But to be able to vibrate at that level, which are many different types of levels, many different types of frequencies that represent Aquarius, we have to first come to terms with all that we've done. And the only way to do that, Sagittarius, is by you learning about yourself, knowing who you are, not just as a physical being, but energetic one. You're both. Physical reality is not just physical, it's also energy. So before you understand the nature of your reality, you have to understand you. You have to begin there. That's why we're being asked to look within, because everything we need to know is within ourselves. So when you start doing meditations and doing all these practices that allows you to change your lifestyle into recognizing yourself first and looking within, by really taking a deep look, not just staying in the emotions that says you're not good enough, you're not getting your way, how am I going to do this, I don't know what to do, I don't fit in, all these things. No, you have to move beyond that. That's when you begin to discover who you are, because there's more. And that's where you eventually start connecting to deeper aspects of yourself that are connected to source energy, are connected to the mind that creates universes. You understand that? So that connection is within you. So you have to begin by working at reconnecting with that part of you. And that's a process that for some of us may not happen in one day or 1 month or 1 year. It happens, sometimes it takes time, and it happens in a very unique way to us. So that means that in the way that happened to me, even though I may share it with you, it's not going to happen to you in the same way. And you should honor that, because we are used to comparing notes and listening to other people, and because that other person did it in that way and I'm not doing that way, now there's something wrong with me. So the oracles are saying, look, how you get there is your journey, is expressing your own uniqueness, and you should feel good about that. Of course, the process sometimes is going to get a little difficult because you're not used to working in that way, and because it's so different than other people that when you hear other people's story, you may have a difficult time deciding, well, now what? Because yeah, that person did it that way, but even though it's kind of similar, it's not exactly like my situation. And the oracles are saying, take some deep breath if that's happening, and relax, because it's supposed to be that way. So even in those moments when you feel stuck and you don't know what you're doing, but you're following a hunch in what you're doing, it's not that you're doing it wrong. You just have to relax and take some deep breath, because here's the thing, Sagittarius. When we're in a receiving mode, our heart center is open. And this is important because that's the energy center that connects you to other dimensions, and it connects you with the universe. So when your energy moves beyond the three energy centers, the first three energy centers that you have in your body, now you're opening your eyes and you're opening your consciousness, and you have access to a universe that normally is there but you don't see it. So we are normally vibrating at a frequency through the energy centers that keep us physical focus. When your energy starts moving into your heart center, now you have reached another level of awareness that will allow you to see more. And that's where the exploration really begins. I should say, that's when the fun really begins. So usually when we are stuck, frustrated, because we don't know what we're doing or because we're not getting our way, we are only working with the energy centers that keeps us physical focused. When we want to expand and we want to have more fun and more synchronicity and really get to enjoy the physical plane that we're participating on, we get to raise our energy into the heart center, and that's when you really get to see what you're doing when you sleep or what you're doing when you are not paying attention. This is where you get to have the opportunity to see how your soul is multitasking in other dimensions while you're working with this one. It's amazing, some of the experiences that you have. But you have to do the work. Nobody else can do it for you. And sometimes we like to take the credit from other people. And this is not going to work. So, coming back to your reading, here the oracle is saying, this process is going to feel quite uncomfortable, but don't worry, we got you. We got your back. There are definitions that are going to come out mentally. There are resistance coming from your mind saying, no, because I cannot afford to do that. And I'm not saying to quit your job and go and do what what you really like to do. All I'm saying is that whatever inspirations you get, pay attention to them. Respond to those inspirations while you're doing what you're accustomed to do. While you're taking care of business, and especially those boring business that you have to handle and feel responsible for. So it's not this or that. It's this and that. Until, you start feeling more stable and grounded in these new things. So the oracles are saying this is going to be a time of where your energies are going to feel like springtime, a rebirth in energies, rebirth of ideas. Pay attention. Because like I said before, some people have been musicians from the get-go, and they have repressed that. So now, as you consider the idea of why not playing music, and it doesn't have to be so black and white, right? I can play music, and maybe I don't have to go there and to think that I can live off my music, but I can start playing it and see where it takes me. So I'm going to work from 8 to 5 every day in my boring job, which I know really well, and yes, it's paying the bills. But in my time off, I'm going to go and play music. Or I'm going to go hang out with people that are playing music and are in this path that I am, like myself. And I'm going to explore that without thinking that I'm going to do that, but it has to give me money. Otherwise, I cannot do it. Open yourself up to the possibilities and remove all of those ideas and beliefs that you have that no, it cannot happen. So I'm not saying go again and be a musician with the belief system of I cannot make money. I'm saying work with yourself slowly until you remove that idea. Of course, with Uranian energy here, it's more like, well, you've explored and you've tried, because some people are going to say, well, I've tried to play music and I haven't gotten work, or at least play in a place where at least I can expose myself, right? It's like somebody the other day, she was telling me, I am accustomed, and she was telling me in Spanish, I am accustomed to struggle. So she said this, I am accustomed to struggle really hard in my life to get what I want. And when I get it, I lose it. And that's been her story. I am accustomed. I am, two very powerful words. One represents your ego and the other one represents your soul. And every time you say I am, you're telling the universe, this is what's going to be. And so be it. So be it. I am the type of person, blah, blah, blah. So she doesn't understand how it is that she continues to reinforce those words in her reality. I know. So with Uranus says, okay, try all of that. And when you get to that point that you said, I've tried everything and it's just not happening, like that woman, it's just not possible. Uranus comes and says, okay, are you ready? Are you ready to let it go? Because, when you start feeling frustrated and feeling empty because everything that you do in your life, you have to work hard and you're tired of working hard. And then once you get it, you lose it. We all get to that space where we're like, you know what am I doing wrong? You can either go and say, everybody in my life has treated me bad and become a victim. Or you get to that point where you're saying, wait a minute, I must be doing something wrong. And this happened to me with my relationships. I just got to a point that I'm saying, wait a minute. And I had already begun to say, something is up. Why do I keep attracting this type of man? And I remember going to my spiritual teacher one time and saying, what do I do to stop this energy? And he told me, and I did it, and I still would get that kind of energy. But you see, what I didn't know then was that when you make those changes internally, it's going to be natural that that energy is going to continue to show up. But you need to recognize it and not to give your power, not to give your energy, not to give it attention. What I was doing was I was making all those changes, but I still could not recognize in another person how that person could eventually represent the energy of what I didn't want. You understand? So that's when I said something is wrong. I have to go deeper. And that's when Uranus came. In the way Uranus came to me, Sagittarius, was by doing ayahuasca, going to the jungle and doing plant medicine. But I don't advise everybody to do it that way. I mean, there's other ways. You don't have to go to that extreme. That was life-changing, and I don't recommend it to a lot of people. It's not for everybody. But your soul will help you and will guide you and will give you options for you to know how to, get to Uranus and how to work with Uranus. Because with Uranus, you have an expansion, but it's not going to be sometimes a nice experience. Sometimes it, takes you deep into your dark side, and it sort of forces you to create boundaries. and you're creating boundaries, especially with those people that are no longer a good representation of who you are. And sometimes those people are your family members. And what's going to happen is that a lot of times those people are not going to support you in that change. And you may feel for a moment that you're losing a connection with all of those people. And it's going to hurt. And it's going to challenge you in a way that you're going to be asking yourself, should I really continue to reinforce this boundary? I'm losing everything. It's kind of like going through a spiritual death. But hang in there, my friend. Because if you're coming from a place of love and well-being, you will be supported. But you're going through a test. And that test, in that way, is Uranus. My lovely Uranus. So that's why in astrology, there's reputations among the celestial bodies that are kind of nice, like Jupiter. And there are other ones where it's like, watch out. But I like this counterbalance here that you have going on between Uranus and the 5th house. So there's a lot of fire energy coming through the heart, so that you can really, 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 really get that you have these passions that you need to pay attention to. And stop ignoring them. You're going to get a lot of help too from family members on the other side. I see energies here that are very earthly, indigenous. This came out in Libra's reading, and you get it too. You have family members here because you have specifically a person, an elder male energy that comes from your father's side, I'm hearing, that is going to work with your energies, and it's going to help you release a lot of these belief systems that you have to let go of, and especially to feel more relaxed and unleash the wild side that you got. Because this is one of those moments, like a wolf, you gotta unleash all that fire, Sagittarius. Another thing I'm being told is that you need to focus on your health a little bit and work in improving and cleaning your body. So health is a perfect opportunity to work with your health. Also your emotional health. So the emotional health is the key here, where your passions is really going to help you with that. The idea is to release a lot of negative emotions and a lot of these need to hold on to your suffering and your pain to justify it, your discomfort, your emotional discomfort, or to justify why you haven't achieved what you want. So the oracles are saying you may have a goal in mind about where to go, but in the way that you thought you were going to do it, it's not going to happen that way. So learn to adapt. Surrender and adapt. You may have to work at a different approach with your finances, because I feel like for some of you there's going to be some traveling or some change of maybe work or profession where you're probably preparing, or you're already doing something about it, and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, after I finish with this, I'm going to do this. But then you're finished with this, and all of a sudden what you thought you were going to do next, it doesn't happen because there's a sudden change. And that's Uranus, a lot of changes, right? So you have to relax, and then again understand the difference between a heart center that is open and is closed, and when it's closed. Heart center that is open, you're relaxed, all your energy centers are in alignment for you to receive the information that you need about what you want. But it's not going to be a full story. It's going to be little by little by little. So you're going to be giving a little bit, you have to follow through. And then when you follow through, it's going to tie to the next thing. That's how the heart center works. There is an inner knowing, not an inner story. Big difference. So here's where you're going to have to learn to balance out when you're in your head, and it's okay to be there, and when you have to operate from the heart center. When you are in a protective mode where all your operating systems are shut down, protecting yourself, and when you're open. So when you feel afraid, when you feel frustrated, when you're bummed down and, kind of cranky and, blaming people because, you're in a bad mood, energy centers are shut down and you're in fight and flight. So there are many different ways to be in fight and flight and not know it, causing your body stress and using a lot of energy. And this relates to your health. You understand, Sagittarius? So in this process, retreat, like retreating to yourself, recharging your batteries, and connecting to your guides is going to be very, very beneficial. There is something magical here that is going to take place with the firefly, the dragonfly. This is one of my totems, and I love this totem because it talks about going to places that are multidimensional, going to places in Earth, visiting places. Out of the blue, you may feel inspired to go somewhere, and it's a portal. And all of a sudden, you're in the middle of experience where you are recognizing that you're in a portal. Understand, Sag? Some of you may experience or may feel like trying community living, because maybe in the future it's going to help you having that experience to maybe create a healing center, or like acquire a piece of land where you want to live in community. I mean, there is definitely projects here that I see your Sagittarius exploring that are going to really put you in the path, in your path, in the way you're supposed to. Okay, so let's just check your finances here real quick with tarot and see where you're at. For Sagittarius finances according to tarot. So you have the Five of Cups, the Magician, the Moon, Nine of Wands, the World, and the King of Wands. I see some of you kind of unhappy about where you're at. It's like, you may be asking yourself, well, and now what? How do I go about, improving my finances? And of course, after you hearing everything that I gave you with the cosmic forces here, you will know what to do. Yeah, so tarot is saying that this is going to be short term. It's going to be short term. With the World card here, there's going to be a shift and a change for the better. Pay attention. Yeah, I feel like some of you get too much in your head. So if something doesn't come out the way I want, and then you're resisted by feeling shitty, torturing yourself or judging yourself, you got to change that, Sagittarius. It's like moody, like being moody. But remember, when something doesn't come out exactly how you expect it, if you feel insecure, afraid, or you're judging yourself, that's your opportunity to clean up all of those conversations. That's the opportunity for you to tell yourself, you know what? This is the old me. Thank you to those words that are reminding me of what I normally tell myself. But now we're going to do this. So it's like telling that part of you, remember, you're not just that part. You are an infinite being, right? Do you understand what that means, Sag? You are an infinite being. So you're not just an idea that says, I'm not doing okay. I don't know what I'm doing and I can't because I'm not worthy. You know what I mean? It's just an idea. That's not all you. So what you do is you thank that part of you and let it know that there's a bigger part of you that is infinite and that you're going to work with that part. You don't have it all figured out, but you're not supposed to. I don't know everything that is going to happen to me from here forward. You're not supposed to. and you're supposed to enjoy the ride. And the way that they're helping you to work with your shadow side is through your passions. You understand? So instead of talking about your negativity and your pain and all of those energies, right? Like we're used to, they're telling you, follow your passion. So your homework right now, Sagittarius, is to figure that out. And believe me, this is an all-inclusive process. And you'll see how it will help you change your finances, improve your finances, even if it's work. Because I feel like some of you may be kind of bummed out about work, something about work that is not really happening in the way that you expected. It will change. So if your question is, how am I going to get out of this? You will. And I just gave you the formula or a formula. All right, love for Sag, single Sag. What's going on with single Sag? Ooh, Wheel of Fortune came out, and it came out loud and clear. The World card again. Wow, Sagittarius. So the Oracle is saying for single Sag, this cycle of misery or maybe feeling like it's going to be impossible for you to find the right person is ending. I see a lot of joy here. And I see you working with yourself and letting go of that sadness or doubt. I see it. I see you meeting other people. Let's see, with love. Yeah, some of you may be waiting because you're working on yourselves. So I don't see anything concrete. I see you meeting other people. I see you closing a cycle where you stop feeling sorry for yourself, or you stop perhaps telling yourself that it's not going to happen. The oracles are suggesting that you do that. And if you're frustrated because things are not moving fast enough in the way you expected it, and then you have to work with your expectations. And the oracles are saying you have to become the frequency of the type of love that you want to experience. And that's the work you have to do while you're, not having in physical manifestation what you're expecting of love. So there's work to do for those of you who is still not there. All right, Sag, let's see what's going on with those of you who are in relationships. What's going on with Sagittarius in relationships? Ooh, darn, you must be working. Some of you are working in your relationship right now, trying to make agreements where the two of you feel heard. Okay, we have rebirth, 4 of Cups, 6 of Cups, the Wheel of Fortune again, 7 of Wands sideways, and the 4 of Swords. So definitely a big change here is taking place in some of your, in a lot of your relationships. And like I said, we have to keep in mind the energies that are working with you guys in this cycle. So you have Uranus and passion. So yes, rebirth of energy here is going to help a lot of you to connect with your partners deeply. Yeah. I feel like for some of you, you've been separate from your partners, even though you're still together. That will come to an end. It's like, even, there's something that for some of you is keeping you apart, even though you're together, whatever that means. Remember, I'm just translating your information. But that separation or that distancing that is being represented by the Hangman is showing me that it's coming to an end. Wow, you get, just like the single Sag, the World card. So there's going to be a process that is marked by probably a couple of months. It's marked by the full moon, So this could be maybe a month or 2 months where something is being reignited in your relationships for the better. All right, Sagittarius. So let's close the reading with advice from tarot. What's the advice for my Sagittarius? What's the advice here? The Fool, new beginnings, Queen of Cups, the Hierophant, Nine of Wands with the Two of Swords. Wow, okay, this is good. So basically the Oracle is saying to work on your emotions. With the Hierophant here, it's about maturity. Be honest with yourself, Sagittarius. Accept that you do by default sometimes tend to feel sometimes emotionally frustrated because it comes with the Nine of Wands. So, but it's time to move on. So it also is saying that recognize that sometimes your frustrations, your emotional frustrations come from your insecurities and your pain. Not feeling good enough, or, being taught to not be good enough, or all this stuff. That it's time to let that go. So it's a new beginning. There's a lot of energy here that is supporting you to release all of that pain. So the idea here is not to continue to reinforce that pain. Well, the reason why I feel like that is because my mom and dad did this. It's time to make peace with that. And maybe that part of you is not going to feel really happy, but it's time for you to take responsibility for your life, because now you're a grown person and you have what it takes to make your own choices and your own decisions. So yes, it's true, and we're acknowledging that whatever happened to you in your childhood and your parents did to you was not nice. But now you can liberate yourself from that by making your decisions and feel responsible for your own choices. So if you fail, it's not because there's something wrong with you or because it's your parents' fault. It's because you're learning on your own to follow your instincts, to follow your own music. You're learning by the power of your choices to understand what works for you and what doesn't. And that's what the advice of Tarot at this point. So my dearest Sagittarius, good luck to you. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.